Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone Puzzle Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone Puzzle Method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. On today's show, we have Shirley Weir of Menopause Chicks. She is on a mission to empower women to navigate perimenopause and menopause with confidence and ease. She is the founder of the popular MenopauseChicksCommunity.com, and her book, Moquita, is an Amazon bestseller in women's health. Today's show is all about menopause and perimenopause and things that you can do starting today to make sure that your journey into this season of life is optimized and beautiful no matter what age you are. Let's welcome Shirley to the show. Hey, Shirley, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm really excited to get into this conversation.
Me too.
Let's dive into that. Tell me a little bit more about you, how you started working in women's health and around menopause.
Sure. Well, I'm 54 years old, and I never imagined in a million years that I would be growing up to become a menopause chick.
Right.
But life sometimes has some interesting plans for us. And I right now can't imagine doing any other work. I had a 30-year career in marketing and communications. And when I was in my early 40s, I started experiencing things that I really knew nothing about. And that really, took me to a number of places. It took me to my doctor's office. It took me to Dr. Google, and it led me down a path that was quite confusing, lots of conflicting information, and quite frustrating because, as I'm sure you know, and many of your listeners probably we're busy, we're time starved. We like to think that we're smart and savvy, but we don't really have a ton of time to, look at 400 websites and discern all of the information. So long story short is, at that time, this is like 9 years ago, everyone was blogging, and I thought, I'll just start a blog and that will be my gift to the world. And I'll get back to my real job. Right.
Right.
And the universe did have some different plans because I got a lot of positive feedback from my circle, my network, but also from media and health professionals. And it just really felt like this was a community that women were looking for, and I wasn't alone. And so that started Menopause Chicks. Our tagline was cracking open the conversation. And we're really focused on giving women health education, which is really, really important. We're all susceptible to lots of messages from media and marketers, but what we really need is just like the quality information that will help us get on with living our healthiest midlife.
I love that. And you talk about, conversations around this are so important. And so dive into that a little bit. Why is it so important and why now?
Well, why now? I mean, why not now is maybe a better question. I have an 18-year-old daughter. And although I started this work, 9 years ago, my vision is that by the time she and her friends turn 35, that they will have a really good understanding about how their hormones work. And we have tons of analogies in our society. Like, when your kid goes to get their driver's license, it's really important that they understand like where the gas pedal is and what happens when you hit it and the brakes. And like you give them all this information about a car, but we don't always do that with our bodies. And so like women's health has been swept under the carpet for decades, but that time is over. It's really time for us to have these important conversations and for us to feel empowered. And the answer to your why question is really because we are the first generation of women to turn 50 and have 50 more years to plan for.
For sure.
And we have to really let that sink in. Like, I think so many people probably see my business card or my website and think that I talk about hot flashes all day. And, it's such a small, minuscule part of this. What we're really doing is setting up my generation and hopefully future generations with the ability to stare down the statistics on heart disease and osteoporosis and dementia and incontinence and vaginal dryness. Like the rates of those conditions, if you will, are overwhelmingly high. And this isn't about navigating, it is and it isn't about navigating sleep disruption and hot flashes. Yes, we want you to have quality of life now, but we really have to invest in the next 3 to 5 decades.
For sure. And I think a lot of people, some of our listeners are younger, maybe they haven't hit menopause yet, but it's important to know about our hormones, to know how we can protect ourselves from going into this, hormonal cascade that we hear is so detrimental with the hot flashes and all the stuff you mentioned. And it's really about just overall health and optimization of that. So we can live 50 more years.
Bingo. And regardless of how old you are, if you're listening to this, there's one hormone that you need to know about, and that is cortisol. Because we are all under so much more stress than previous generations. And that is going to wreak havoc individually on, your quality of life if it's not managed properly. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Right. Me too.
As well, it's going to wreak havoc on your female hormones like estrogen and progesterone if it's not addressed. And that was the biggest learning for me, because if I was to look back at my journey, it might not have been, I wanted to blame perimenopause. It might not have been perimenopause after all. I was burnt out.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize too. So I'm so glad we're talking about this, that, you go, I'll have a client come to me saying, all my hormones look normal. They're all in balance. My doctor says they look great. And I'm like, well, did they test cortisol? Well, no, it's a very important hormone. And if it's out of balance, then it doesn't matter if your other ones are balanced, because you're going to be having symptoms.
And it doesn't matter if you're 35 or 65.
Right. Exactly. And you talk about that hormone balancing method. What is that, and how do we balance our hormones?
Well, I came up with this, I'm very visual. And so I came up with this image of of inverted pyramid. And the reason I got to that image was because in the world of menopause conversations, hormone therapy quickly comes up, and we have a lot of questions, a long history around hormone therapy. It's an important conversation, but what is important, I believe, to start with is that all of us understand there is no magic wand. You can't, do the drive-through, burn the midnight oil, sit on the couch, Netflix and chill, and then think, oh, if anything goes wrong, I'll just go on hormone therapy. It's a hormone pyramid, if you will. And at the very top of that is really addressing, and for some of us, it's for the first time in our lives, really focusing on how we eat, move, and sleep. And that supports our hormone health. And then manage stress, as we already mentioned, super important. The other piece of learning that I include in the image of the pyramid is that there are nutritional deficiencies that can mimic hormone imbalance or can confuse women and think, oh, it's just perimenopause. You know, the eye roll that if you say hormones, or, you know, if a teenager is going through maybe some hormone fluctuations as well, and we all kind of think of it as a bad word, and it's not. But at the same time, we might also be deficient in iron or magnesium. And like a huge learning for me was just understanding that women who still have a period are really susceptible to being deficient in iron. And I was one of those women. It can show up as depression, or it can show up as brain fog, which was a biggie for me. And I was busy blaming perimenopause for my brain fog, when in reality I was iron deficient.
Oh,
so I really like to include, and there's others as well. And then you mentioned cortisol. Thyroid is another hormone that, you know, I don't know how many women will go see their physician and then they'll come into my community. And if I say, well, you know, did you have your thyroid checked? And she's like, well, no, you know, my doctor never mentioned that. And I'm like, okay, well.
Or they'll test for just TSH and not test anything else.
Not a full thyroid panel. Yes. So I put hormone therapy at the bottom, not because it's the least important, but because I want us to start thinking about, you know, it's not a medication. It's not a magic wand. It's not a quick fix. It is an option on the menu, but so are all of the other things that we just talked about.
And I completely agree with that. You know, I always tell people start with food and lifestyle first. And then if you need to supplement with something, you can, but don't start with the supplement. There's not a magic pill or magic wand, like you say. It's about holistic health. And then if you need those other things, sprinkling them in.
Yeah. And if we even only had to talk about one of those things today, it seems to be coming up a lot now, probably because we're in November, but it's sleep. Right. Yes. And I don't know how many of my members are challenged with sleep, but they don't feel empowered to ask for support. They think it's something that they inherently should be able to deal with themselves.
For sure. Yep. It's so very important. Important. And I think we kind of forget that sometimes when we are burning the candle at both ends and we're just trying to do so many things that we forget how important sleep, relaxation, which leads into stress management. So yeah, for sure. So we're going to take a short break and we're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and we're going to come back in and we're going to talk practical tips. Like, what should we be doing to optimize our hormones? And we're going to talk about your book, Moquita. So we'll be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching. Whether you're struggling to get pregnant with pesky hormone symptoms, or you're working to build a career in the fertility and women's health space, we have you covered. Visit our website at www.coachkayla.com to learn more on how we can help you. Text the keyword fertility to 615-257-8855 for your free fertility meal plan. Hey, Shirley, welcome back.
Thank you.
So let's talk quick tips. What are maybe your top 5 things for optimizing our hormones?
Well, we already talked about sleep, but before I kind of get into the practical things, I have to really emphasize getting informed and getting educated. And that can take on many different forms depending on how you like to learn. It could be listening to a podcast like you're doing right now. It could be reading a book. It might even be, there's more and more workshops happening in the workplace. It might be joining a Facebook community, which I happen to host. But it's making that decision to put your own name at the top of your to-do list. Mm-hmm. That has to happen first. And then I don't know how I would pick the next 4 because, we have to meet women where they are and there's so many things. I mean, women join the community and sometimes the very first thing they want to talk about is low libido and low sexual desire. And that's, in a really important conversation for them because it affects their confidence, their overall quality of health. It's affecting their relationship perhaps. And then, the next woman that I meet will be, just cannot live through her hot flushes and night sweats or vaginal dryness. Didn't know that there even was a thing, such as vaginal dryness. We don't teach ourselves what happens on this journey. And we're trying to turn a corner on that. Let me just say, 77% of women have questions about their health. And I know you and I are working hard every day to take that statistic down. And it's going to happen if we can get informed, build a healthcare team, surround ourselves with a team of experts, learn from them, and then spread the word, to our friends, our coworkers, our children, and to our mothers and grandmothers too. I speak with a lot of older women who are like, oh, I didn't know that, right? And so, once women have information and feel empowered, they're really good at telling others. So
I love that.
Some of the practical tips that I think about on a daily basis.
Yes. And what about food? How important is, high quality, good, healthy food? And is there any specific foods that we can be eating for hormonal health?
Yeah. So, in my book, and I know we're going to talk about that in a second, but I engaged a registered dietitian to write a chapter because I think that is, for me, I would rather eat my nutrients than swallow a capsule. I'll be honest. Right. I'm just not really that good at swallowing pills or vitamins and supplements, and I'm not that compliant. And so, but I do eat every day. So if I can work with a healthcare professional who can kind of guide that, and, I started to get really curious about, well, how much iron, how much fiber, what foods are rich in magnesium, even though I do take a magnesium supplement, but just kind of getting really curious about that. And then just a couple of years ago, my daughter was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And we're working with her healthcare team to do the same line of questioning. It's exactly the same. It's making sure she's getting enough protein, enough fiber, a good balance of healthy fats and omega-3s. And it kind of helps to do it with someone in your family or someone that you love too.
For sure. Yes. And again, like we talked, hormonal health and doing things to support our hormones, no matter what your age, whether you're, young and struggling with PCOS or endometriosis, or you're, in your older years going into menopause, perimenopause, all of that. Having a good hormonal balancing toolkit is important. Yeah. And so let's talk about your book, Mochita. Why did you call it that? And tell us what it's about.
So this is it. I know it's not a very popular word, but it found me just as I was finishing the book. And the word Mochita means the truth we all know, but choose not to speak of.
Wow.
So I was, cracking open the conversation on perimenopause and menopause. I thought that my girlfriends would all embrace it, but I can tell you there was a few cases where I had, the big hand in the face, the shape of the stop sign saying, whoa, Shirley, I'm not there yet. Right. I would hear that a lot. I'm not there yet. And I was like, okay, that's all right. Come along with me for this journey and we can learn together. Mochita is from Papua New Guinea. And the Kavila tribe in Papua New Guinea uses Mokita to measure the health of their tribe. And I thought that that was really interesting and powerful. So they say that they only have a healthy tribe or a healthy community when all the issues are out on the carpet and being talked about. And that's really how I feel. I mean, about many things. I think you could put money, sex, religion, like they all fall under the Mokita umbrella. But I knew that women's health, and particularly perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, were not being talked about in that way. So that's how it came to be.
No, I love that. I love that. And what is it about? Tell us, maybe a couple of the main topics.
Yeah. So 2 goals for writing the book. The first half is really about clarity, offering readers a consolidated summary of what they need to know. So it takes all the confusing and conflicting information and just kind of hones in and gives you a quick and easy read, definitions, and what you need to know. The second goal of the book was to help women build their health team, which is a little bit of a new concept. I think that, here in North America, we do tend to rely on our family physician, or historically tended to rely on our family physician for everything. And it was also that paradigm of, if it breaks, then somebody out there will know how to fix it. And I wanted to turn that on its side and say, keep your doctor. We all need our doctors, but your doctor may or may not be trained in hormone balance. So here is another list of options of professionals that you might want to invite to your team. So I mentioned registered dietitian. We have a doctor, a naturopath, a pharmacist, a pelvic health expert, which is huge topic in our community and so important. And then we had a life coach and a meditation teacher, an acupuncturist, and they all brought a description of the work that they do, but they all brought a case study. And I know that women love to learn from stories of others. It helps you feel validated, helps you feel like you're less alone, but you can also say, oh, this woman worked with an acupuncturist and that really speaks to me. Or maybe it's the registered dietitian story. You don't need all of these people on your team, but you likely need a couple or, or a few of them. So I think that has been really helpful in helping women decide that they're really, like, you are driving your own health bus. You're in the driver's seat and you get to choose who you invite onto your team.
I love that. And we talk a lot about that here, having a fertility team in place. It's great. You need your doctor, but you also need somebody to help with nutrition, somebody to help with mental health, pelvic health, all of that. So definitely important to build a team, no matter what stage of life you're in.
Exactly. And I think it's going to become the norm in the future. And, I have to tell you, doctors are embracing it too.
Good.
And I really love hearing, progressive integrative doctors who are like, yes, that's not my wheelhouse. So you could talk to this expert in that area and then we will work together because you're the most important, person in the room right now.
Yes. I love that. So we'll tell everybody where we can find your book. Where can we find you and how can we work with you?
Sure. So I spend most of my time in a private online community. It's the menopausechicks.com. And on social media, I'm at Menopause Chicks. And any of the links there will lead you to my book and to any of the online education and training that we do.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I love your Instagram page. It's very educational and fun. So good job. Yeah. So any final thoughts, anything you want to leave us with?
Well, I think the final thought that I love to leave everybody with is, this concept of putting yourself at the top of your to-do list. I might talk about perimenopause and menopause all day, every day, but this is really about empowering women to be their own best health advocates. So, and thank you to, doing this podcast and doing this work, because that just, all of that messaging contributes to that and making women feel like this is an important conversation to have.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for being here. I loved our conversation and I can't wait to read your book. So
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. And thank you, ladies, for listening to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Until next time, bye. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. So make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.